Thursdays always make me feel refreshed for whatever reason.
Well, you know,
So like Thursday, you got, or Friday, you got a cookie and chicken, there you go. But yeah, Thursday like that for me.
the regular council meeting for Tuesday, August 17th. Teresa, want to call the roll call?
Sure. Mayor Chip Dutcher,
Here.
Cheryl Robertson. Here. Doug Lehner,
Here.
Marvin Block,
Here.
Ben Lee,
Here.
Sharon Hendren. Here.
I'm going to offer the invocation. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for our village. We thank you for our soon-to-be city. We thank you for our residents. We ask your guidance and your blessing upon our school children that'll be going back to school tomorrow. Please look after them, guide them, keep them safe. We ask your blessing on our first responders, our police force, our members of the armed forces that are serving overseas. They've had a particularly rough week. And all of that we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are going to move into executive session to discuss some legal matters, and we will be back.
I would ask myself, Jack, and Teresa be involved in that.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes,
I'll make a
Yes.
motion to move into executive
and the
session
law director.
And the law director.
with as the law director, Jim Leonard, Jack Liggett. Was there anybody else? She's like Teresa, and the balance of council for the purpose of discussing pending court action with legal counsel.
Second.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Cheryl Van Dees. Yes.
Yes.
Now, just so everyone knows, the recording stopped, but I don't know how to pause the live stream. So
We're all being recorded.
well, that's up to you. I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying don't, but you'll be on YouTube. So.
I'm gonna pass on the dance and the push-ups. This is gonna get to be like regular. It's supposed to ring again. It's really slow.
How many have they permitted recently? Did they do like another 7? Really? That sounds about right. It's pretty close. The winter time. Wow. Really? I tell you, I've been very pleased with them. Really have. I supposed to get 2, so I wonder when that's going to happen. I wonder if I get a choice in the matter. Got the river birch. You know what I'd really like though is I'd like to get maples. 2 maples. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'll reach out to him. I agree. Yeah, because what I'd like to do is get 2 maples. That's what I want is 2 sugar maples. That's exactly what I want. Yep. They look beautiful in the fall. Yep. Is it? Yeah, it's kind of what I was looking at, one of those like the sugar maple, scarlet maple. I have to reach out to because there's a couple of my doors that are really, I don't know if the house just settled a little bit or if they've got swollen, and so I got one in particular in my pantry that just won't close at all. That's just it. Is he goes, I feel like your humidity is too high in your house. So the thing is I can't. Got a dehumidifier, put it in the basement. Gotcha. Really? Yeah, this one is too. Like they're all poplar, so all the doors are poplar. Right. And then he did caution me on that. So he says once we take it down, we can't untake it. So he goes, so be cautious on that. So winter time's gonna come, so I think that it's gonna draw a lot of it out. But I also kind of wonder because I got that 100-gallon aquarium in my living room. So I wonder if that's putting off enough moisture. Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah. Other than that, everything's good to go. That epoxy on my garage. And throughout my entire garage, so it came out really nice. I think it ran me $500. Free. Had a lot of space in there. Black. Uh-huh. Still looks good. Yeah.
Yeah, just sprinkle those. Yeah, sprinkle them in there. I've watched the video. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't tell you this, but
Yeah, if you got a shirt.
We have to sign in.
They're on an executive session.
last week, our house is. Yeah, what a great thing. So I still came in on Schlegel at price hike. Right, and then I'm making out on the other end. I remember you telling me that. Uh-huh. Really? Really? Big's that house? I was gonna say like 3,500. That's still a lot of money. Absolutely. I was like, that's kind of like in the custom built range at that point. I probably agree with you on it too. Wow. Wow. Yep. agree with you. I probably agree that it is that. How's things in your neighborhood? Quiet? Other than the one guy that lives down at the end of the street. I was out there today. Oh, there's an issue. Right across the street. Cheryl. It was actually, it actually bled over to the villages.
That house, his house is for sale, you know? They just lowered it.
Three something now.
340 something.
Yeah, because it was that was like 480 or something, wasn't it?
$33,000.
Thing is,
See, his brother's trying.
but the thing is they're not showing it. You know, so basically you get to purchase it as is. They're not letting people come in and take a look at it. So
They keep it a mess.
no, that's what I mean. That's like he's purposely doing that to lock it in.
Right, yeah, and he talks about it. But he said, I'll stay here till the sheriff comes and gets me.
That's probably what's gonna happen.
It probably is.
Yep.
Yeah.
His brother owns a house.
It's
They both
Their
do.
mother died and left it to her son. His
Well,
brother's
that's not gonna be.
brother was pretty decent. This guy,
Oh,
He's had some serious trouble.
It's a peach.
I even list it for sale if you don't want it to be for sale.
Brother wants the proceeds from it.
The court settled the estate. It has to be
Sold,
You
yep.
know where I'm coming from. It has to be. So, put it in there. TLC.
Yeah. Well, if nobody can go in there, nobody's
But
gonna even offer
The
'em.
thing is like he has to be getting close to being delinquent on the taxes.
Well, I would think so.
It's gonna get yanked any way he looks at it.
Yeah.
You might as well just make what he can on it.
There's probably some profit unless he's.
Can they though? If it's tied up, can they?
They're gonna- Yeah,
Yes.
they might not be able to.
I don't think they
And
can.
the thing is, it used to be 3 years. If they had, when they even had in a trust, they were in the trust, it had to be out of the name for 7 years. They would have to sell it. And in this case, it was in their names. They probably. I forget, I hadn't even looked at it. It was.
I think it's under both their names. Or the auditor's website.
Yeah.
I'm curious about it myself.
Was the girlfriend involved this time?
They both always are.
You know,
What ended up happening is we ended up trespassing him from Village of Concord. Yeah.
They were there bothering somebody over there.
Well, they walk around, they don't have the dog on a leash, and then they're in an argument. So basically, and that's a retirement community. You see,
Yeah.
they got these people coming out of the house trying to figure out what's going on, and then he confronts them and gives them a good solid cuss out,
Oh,
and then he comes off very aggressively. You mean he always has, and then these people don't know how to take it. They see it as threatening. I mean, and the fact of the matter is, the guy is threatening.
yeah, he is threatening. He definitely is threatening. He's always had threateners.
I mean, he's not threatening me because he doesn't scare me.
For a while, years ago, after jail, he had a Ford movie. He formed, had horse trailers and say, spent the winter here or in Florida, horses, he horses down. That's what he did. So he'd be gone for a couple of months, be back for a month. Keep that trailer. It was a 45.
It's in a trustee, in a trust.
Trust.
And that's mom's name. So Offenberger Eileen, that's mom. And then it's in, and then sooner or later, they got to forfeit on those and the bank's going to come and take it anyway.
Like the taxes paid on it. Those are taxes. Where it says tax bill.
History.
Should get that. Payments, 2,700. Those 4 years, 347. Say penalty anywhere. So maybe down and see where the address is. Still lives in the house, so.
Looks like still, it looks like the balance is still due though.
Yeah.
Right here, due by last month.
Yep.
It says, it still shows the balance due,
2,700.
which I have a funny feeling will not get paid. Highly doubt it.
Well, anybody around there?
I don't even live in that subdivision. I won't miss them. They don't want to see me either. She doesn't even live in Johnstown. She doesn't even know what we're talking about. You know, I got a generator in order.
I know.
Yeah.
Bailey, I said when the power out,
I am. It's 15 weeks out. And then I lose power and I'm like, no, no. I'm just thinking about my aquarium and I'm like, man, I hope it's not leaking in the basement.
Did you run by there?
Yeah, I did. It was leaking in the basement a little bit. Not very much. I mean, I don't know, maybe this much worth of water, which in the whole scheme of things is not bad at all. That's like a towel. And when the power comes back, I'll put the fan on it for a minute and it'll be okay.
my son lives out at 62 and he's got 5 acres. It's his power goes out. He has a generator. He wasn't home. I used to go out and start it. Anyhow, he didn't even call me. It was going to be home. He hit 0.
Holy cow.
He has to do something. When the power went out. He has a camera. When he saw. See the camera was on. So
You know what I did is I had Ashley Ball do a water backup,
yeah, that's a good thing.
right?
It really.
So that way, when the primary goes down, that water backup will pick
Yeah.
up and it doesn't require water or power. It'll just goes.
So,
Yeah. Still 30 minutes. It's 9 o'clock.
Cold in here.
It's cold here.
That feels good.
Warm earlier, now it's.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad I've got it on.
You don't have to.
Just when
Yeah, I made a
Just note the time we're back in session.
Okay. Okay, I would note that it's 7 o'clock, 7:03, and that we are back in session. We'll pick up where we left off. Action on the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the August 3rd minutes?
Move to approve is written.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
sure. Marvin Block,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Carol Van Dies. Yes. Doug Liner.
Yes.
Okay, next up are citizen comments on matters not on the agenda. So if anybody has anything they'd like to talk about and inform us about, now's the time. And if you could just come up to the microphone, state your name and your address, and we'll listen.
For 3 minutes.
Yeah. We might let it go a little far.
All right, I'm somewhat long-winded, but we'll keep it together here. My name's Andrew Bruni, 204 Stonehenge Road Drive, Johnstown, Ohio, 43031. And I am currently the Leafy Dell HOA1 president. And I realize we are somewhat late to the party here as far as HOA1 with discussing the matter of the new Coughlin apartment development in Leafy Dell. So there's a lot of things that have been discussed here that we actually haven't been in the loop on. We had an open meeting with residents, and I was asked to come to the village meeting to voice our concerns and have a presence, have some participation. So I'm here on behalf of the residents of Leafy Dell HOA1 to voice concerns. We are the original wing, the oldest wing of the neighborhood there. So we've got the park area and the pond. So we share a border with where this new proposed development would be. So just kind of rattling off some concerns here. One of the highlights here is traffic density, and what kind of study has been conducted here that shows that the neighborhood could support the additional vehicles, along with school traffic. That's a concern. One particular resident that lives along Stonehenge Road Drive asks about preventative measures for dust and construction, airborne construction debris during the protection or during the construction process. What is there potentially going to be done to protect grime, airborne grime, on homes? So, preventative measures for erosion, I'm sure will be mandated by the EP. Yeah, the EPA. I guess that's a question.
It'll be us.
Yes. Okay.
We'll
It'll be
enforce
okay. As far as green screening with, kind of looking at the proposed site plan, the headlights that come in and out of that new development, would kind of be shining right over the hill and then into the residents on Stonehenge Road Drive as well as Leafy Dell Road. Is there any kind of green screening mandatory, in place? Will that development have a security fence, perhaps? Once the buildings are up, is there a certain number of trees? So that's also a question that's been raised by residents. Based on the proposed site plan, I don't see a green space there. So one thing that our concern as an HOA is the Leafy Dell apartments have their own apartment or their own playground that's off of Leafydale Road. And then HOA 1 has that green space, the park area, the pond and the basketball court. So it's been brought up many times as far as, you know, how do we establish exclusivity, which we could put up signage. And I guess if there's any verbiage on, you know, what good suggested words there would be to put up signs. But, you know, obviously it's right here up on top of the hill, and we're talking about 80 units. So they would perhaps gravitate down to or more than likely gravitate down to our playground area.
Andy, on that one, I would assume that development was all supposed to be served by that green space. I mean, I see what you're saying there, but I think when it was designed, wasn't that because Miranda didn't put in green space and, you know, all their different sections. So although it's owned by you, I think the original intent was to have everybody in that HOA, which has since fragmented multiple times. So
Jim, it is. This is a former detention area. It was all mapped out.
Right.
For a complete build out.
So I don't know. I don't think we're gonna have an answer for you on that one.
Sure. Okay. That's one of the concerns there. So on the proposed site plan, there's a property pin in the pond. I've not seen that pin. I guess if there's any way to make it noticeable, you know, it's kind of coming off of a conversation that I had with the attorney for the Coghlan Apartments, Connie Klima. She had said that this was an early discussion with that property pin in the pond, that they would have, I guess, the right of way to perhaps direct storm drainage into the pond. So that was an early conversation. I've kind of heard rumors that is perhaps not the case, but you know, once again, a concern. Where that site plan shows the property line, there we have an overflow drainage with a gravel riprap on the north side of that pond where the dam is. That dam or that overflow is pretty high right now. So if the water were to ever reach a level that, you know, would need to escape, you know, via that overflow, we'd have quite a few homes on the other side of the pond that would be flooded. So I guess where on my end, I need to open dialogue with whether it's Connie Klima or somebody, you know, with the Coghlan Apartments about shared responsibilities with pond maintenance, and then, you know, establishing exclusivity with that playground, or however, you know, that was meant to be. And then, you know, there's an insurance liability that a lot of our funds go into with that concerning that pond. So we'd have to also talk about shared insurance liability on the pond since it's co-owned. And so all along, we've kind of been maintaining that area, mowing it, and then have had some pond maintenance conducted. We currently do have have been budgeting for a pond dredging, because that is long overdue, and it needs to be done. So we do have that set. Another concern is sharing responsibilities on the median itself, that front entrance. And I guess while I have you here, to get clarification, who owns that median where the gatehouse is?
The village does.
Okay, the village does. And so, you know, I've been on the board for 6 years and have been the acting president. I think we kind of took it upon ourselves to oversee the maintenance. And it's kind of, it's come and gone. I recently was out there personally pulling weeds myself because it got to the point where it was an embarrassment. So we have a landscape company that will service it here and there, but we don't really have any kind of a shared responsibility with among the other HOAs. And then that's on me. But now that we're bringing in this new development, that could be something else that we need to discuss. And then there's the whole rumor of perhaps a roundabout there down the road. But in the meantime, that median needs to be maintained for sightliness. So these are my concerns, and I consider us active and now involved in the discussion. Fellow resident David Norwood has a couple specifics when it comes to pond relations. So I thank you for your time.
I want to address a couple things that you brought up.
Yes, sir.
Where did you get that plot plan?
I believe
Has anything official been filed?
it was just a proposed site plan.
They got it from me. Same thing they submitted.
They submitted it to zoning?
Same thing you said.
And so that's been kind of traded around the Leafy Dell Facebook page. And then among the board. So we've all kind of seen the idea of what would happen. And I guess, you know, we see that and we're like, there's no green space, and where would there be any kind of a screening there? So those are our concerns.
Most of those concerns, I think, will be addressed in zoning, won't they, Jim?
The site plan review
Yeah.
and, yeah, like the street trees and the screening, we have landscape ordinances on the books and stuff like
Okay,
that. So, yeah, I would agree.
okay. Thank you.
But nothing's been submitted yet formally to zoning, has it?
They've sent us preliminary plans, but they haven't officially submitted those plans.
But they sent you plans though. Okay.
Different issues and send them back.
Okay. All right.
My name is David Norwood. I live at 106 Grassy Knoll Way, and our house and property backs up to the pond. And we've been there since 2003. And at one point, there was a developer in there that took out all the trees along the pond, and then they graded it, and then they left and didn't come back. And there was huge erosion into the pond at that time. This is back 04. So I ended up calling EPA, and they came out and forced the developer to do something about that. So my main concern, and Andy's touched on it, is the drainage. The proposed development has what I would call a lot of hard surface areas, the parking lots, the roofs, the sidewalks. Where is all that drainage going to go? Currently, to my knowledge, there is 2 drains that drain into the pond. And ever since I've been there, whenever there's a heavy rain, there will be muddy water drain into the pond from those 2 drains. So my question, and to make sure that you're aware of this, will the drains go below the dam? Will they go into the street? Where will they go? Just to make you aware of that, because currently, if you get a really heavy rain, I've seen the pond get this close to going over the dam. So if you dump in a bunch more square footage of water at a 2 or 3 inch rain, yeah, I just wanted to make you aware of that. So yeah, Andy covered most of what, my concerns. So thank you.
When they designed that dam, that pond used to be a lot higher.
Yeah,
That big box they got in there,
yeah, it's been, yeah,
that was designed by the engineer, and they had to drop the level of that pond, and they put that overflow in to take care of the overflow. And you have, I don't know where you're talking about, the 2 things that goes into the pond, those are from the streets. There's also another one that comes down Maple Street that comes in underground, comes down through there and dumps into the pond. And that pond was designed to take care of all that when it was designed.
well, I've seen it flood clear back into the park area above the
Don't
2
doubt
big
that.
drains that,
I don't doubt that after 27
Yeah.
years.
so the concern is when you add a big development, a lot of other areas, where is all that water going to drain to? Right.
Bailey and Jack, would we have an idea what the preliminary plan review of the stormwater piece?
That's something we're still waiting on, but I've told them that that we need before we can move forward. with it.
That's a part of the review process is they have to submit that. So,
We won't send anything to engineering without stormwater plans.
so before it comes to planning and zoning or anybody to review, we should have an idea of where that water is going to go with respect to the development of that parcel. So when that comes along, that should answer that question hopefully pretty clearly, but if not, I'm sure there'll be several questions to get an answer for it for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Mary Cool, Leafy Dell Villas, and I just want to get clarification. The plan we're talking about is something that was provided subsequent to that very preliminary one?
The
Are you talking
plan-
about the original document?
They've provided us with other documents, but they haven't been officially submitted.
Okay, because we call in every week and ask that question, and we're always told nothing has been submitted.
It hasn't been submitted.
They have not get,
Request for preliminary.
we
review.
ask if anything has been submitted, not officially, just submitted. Has there been any steps, any action, anything? And we're always told no.
You're always.
So you're
told
telling me,
Engineering review.
you're telling me they have submitted something. You've kicked it back with some issues, but they haven't formally submitted it.
They just send us preliminary plans for our feedback.
Okay, so they are submitting things to you.
It hasn't been submitted.
I understand that, but when we ask the question,
I know.
we
but-
say, has anything been communicated on the Coghlan project? And we're told no.
But I need to be clear on what's being submitted because I have a legal process after something's officially submitted. So it hasn't been submitted.
I wasn't asking legally, has it been submitted? We have called and asked, has anything new happened on this Coghlan project? And every time we are told no, nothing, haven't heard anything. And you're telling me that's different.
Every time we say that we're still going through engineering review, they're still having their engineers look at it.
Okay, I'll have to disagree because you have never said that.
Okay.
Nobody has ever said that. So I'll have to officially disagree with that.
Can I ask a question real quick if that's okay? Does it sound like maybe just the idea of what the term submit means is what's in question with respect to our relative positions to where the village has the term submit with documents holds with it a legal connotation that we have to subscribe to, whereas potentially from your position, submission just means a trading of information back and forth?
We did not ask if anything legally was submitted. We asked if any action had been taken by
Okay.
Coghlan to move forward on this project, any submission, not a legal submission. We did not specify that. We asked if anything had happened. And we were told every week, no, nothing. Nothing's happening.
Jim,
May I clarify? So this whole process, in any process, there's going to be 4 to 5 iterations of engineering plans. I've never seen sorry to engineers, they never get them right. So the Bailey is correct. We have no submission, but we are given plans to say, hey, are we even close? What do you think? Obviously, we have those plans and there's been 20 comments back. The issue, are they public record? Absolutely. The issue is we will then have plans out in the public realm that will change 4 to 5 more times. All it does is create confusion and discontent amongst the parties. But so submit, Bailey's absolutely correct. We have no submission. And this happens almost on every development.
submit, they have to pay a fee.
They submit, they pay the fee, the engineering fee, but there's so much back and forth that if these plans are evaluated by Andy for landscaping, Andy's gonna come back and be like, what the heck? By that time, Bailey's already sent comments back to the engineer saying your plans are insufficient. So there's this delicate balance of making sure we've been able to do our job without, other people looking over. I'm not trying to say you can't see the plans or anything, but officially there's been nothing submitted. Absolutely. Has there been something unofficially submitted? Absolutely. So I think both parties are right in this.
Then why would what is unofficially submitted not made available to us?
It can be,
When we call and ask on a continual basis.
Should be.
it can be.
And I'd like to see the 20 questions or the 20 issues that were raised.
We can get that. to you.
Then
Why would we not be entitled to that and have been notified about that when we
the
call?
meeting You had, didn't you have a meeting of the residents of the condos
We did
with them? Was there anything shared at that meeting?
with Coggan.
No, did Coughlin give you anything that
The
showed the parking lot, showed the
yes,
buildings?
the original
whatever?
plan that you were given, we were given, we shared with them. It was passed around by you on Leafy Dell's site. It was everywhere. That's all we've seen.
So, okay.
And we call weekly to see if there's been any proposed changes to that. And we are always told no.
And that is officially correct.
Never have I said, and I've made the call several times, has a legal submission ever been given to the village? No, that's not what I asked.
We'll just have to stamp the plans
Draft.
to make,
Draft is fine. We're smart enough to figure out there's more steps.
I'm not worried about you.
Well,
I
there's-
completely agree with,
We can figure that out. We would like to see step by step. If there's a submission, we want to see it. And we want to see what issues you raise.
we'll get them to you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Who's next? Diane?
So I wrote mine out so that I stayed
Okay.
under my 3 minutes, so. So I would like to, first of all, my name is Diane Weaver. My address is 252 West Coshocton Street. I'm here because I would like to address the issue of the weeds in my grass at my home and at my restaurant. Before the widening of the road, my yard did not have weeds or rocks in it. Now it is full of weeds and rocks. And most of you know where I live and you see the weeds. And I have lost all of my annuals. The flowers that I had planted are all gone because of the weeds. And I have weeds for grass. I have no grass. I have weeds. At my restaurant, the grass is full of clover, or that area is full of clover, which it's never been there before. It attracts the bees, and I am concerned for my customers' safety and well-being. We were told that our yards would be restored to the original state or even better. When you look up and down the street, a lot of yards are full of weeds. From my house on the opposite side of the street, traveling south, those yards had very nice grass put in them. Why the difference? There should not be any difference, no matter where your house is located or who you are living on Coshocton Street. We want our village to look nice. I want my yard to look nice. I have been told it is the state's responsibility. Well, then get on them to get it done. Otherwise, the village should fix this issue. I know I am not the only citizen who has issue with this. I have been told that others do. I have put up with the road widening. I've put up with closures at my restaurant. I have now a ugly yard. I know I don't have the greatest looking house, but it is my house and it is my yard. And I never sowed those weeds. Oh, and also, by the way, throwing some grass seed in the yard doesn't get rid of my weeds, nor does it make the rocks disappear. So just going out and having somebody throw some seeds is not acceptable. I thank you for listening to me tonight, and I thank you in advance for taking care of this issue.
Thank you, Diane. We've all talked about this. We have brought it up to the State Highway Department of Transportation, that what they did was not acceptable. And we've made them aware of that, and they've told us what they did was all they're doing. Right?
Yes, basically, you're correct. We've called them on multiple times. They came out. I guess what relieves them of their responsibility is if they have 60% growth, regrowth, and they had their inspectors come out and said that they had fulfilled what they are going to do and they are done. They're not doing any more. So we have already taken the position that we're going to fix those yards. We have set aside some money. We're going to re-topsoil and we're going to reseed. Now, what I think we may do is enlist more than the servicemen, maybe get landscaper type person to come in and say, okay, how are we going to address these weeds? What do you need in the way of topsoil? And then reseed. That plan, of course, we're getting a lot of rain here in August. It's normally a dry month, but that plan is going to take place in September. Because normally you either put your best chance for grass growth is either in the spring or in the fall when the fall rains come. And it's a little bit cooler. You throw seed down in July and August and it just bakes. And unfortunately, a lot of folks, hey, you tore my yard up. I'm not going to water it, in the summer. So we've already made the decision that we're going to start taking care of that in mid-September, hope for cooler weather, and the seed will be able to take root and take off. So that is the plan.
And does that include that area of land that is, like, you've got your yard, you got your sidewalk, and then you've got that strip of land right next to the street? Does that include that? Because I never had to mow that, or, the way it is now with all the signs that are now in front of my front yard or in front of my house. And in that area especially, there's a lot of rocks. And it's like, I can't mow that very easily because I'm afraid that I'm going to pick up rocks from the mower and, I either hit my house or hit the cars that are, traveling. Plus, like I said, there are rocks in my yard that were never there before.
Well, the area that we're going to maintain and take care of will be the area from the road back to, and like you said, it can be clearly defined where the work area stopped. Because the
Well, in
rest,
my yard,
rest
it
of
went
your
almost all the way up to my house because they took more of my yard and used it for equipment holding area kind of thing. So they took the lot of almost all of my yard.
most of their equipment should have been housed on the village lot.
But when they cut into and did the work, I had more of my yard taken and they tore it all up.
We will definitely take a look at that. Like I said, the plan is to start that in September. And like I said, the original plan was to, get the street crew out there, put some topsoil down and reseed. But I have seen all the weeds. I see what you're talking about. And I don't know that that'll stop that from returning. So I was going to talk to the finance committee about enlisting maybe just a landscape type person to come in that can spray those weeds, get rid of them, get some topsoil down.
Okay.
So yes, but that project was not going to take place until September. Now, obviously, you're saying, well, it's raining today. Well, normally it doesn't rain like this in August. It's normally a dry month. So we're going to wait for September for that to happen.
And I understand that. I just want it addressed and taken care of because we were put through a lot with the widening of the road and to have it look the way that it does, I mean, it's embarrassing. And it is hard, right, with all the rain and all that. And weeds grow faster than grass. So who has the highest grass right now? Me, because I've got weeds. I don't have grass. And so it's like, and I don't have extra money to go and sod my yard or do all of that stuff when I didn't even create the problem.
Yes, I don't think you should expect resodding. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but getting rid of the weeds, topsoil and seed. I believe you can fully expect that.
And it's going to be nice grass.
We would certainly hope so.
All right.
Are you right next to the entrance to Charlie Kramer's house?
Yes.
That driveway that goes back?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Is 60% really the threshold that they use?
That's what they told us. 60% regrowth was the threshold on what they had to meet.
That is ridiculous, especially in
And-
a residential area.
And part of that, when we discussed if you had 60% all grass, maybe we could do some reseeding on the village point, but I agree with her completely. There's a bunch of weeds up there. They washed their hands and walked away from it. And we really don't have a tremendous amount of leverage to force them to come back.
60% is ridiculously low, especially in a residential area.
What you're seeing,
Believe it.
what you're seeing on the other side of the street has a lot more Kentucky bluegrass in it. What they put on your side of the street was more ryegrass.
For a quicker stand. So what I was hoping to do is actually get with Marvin, who is our local expert with grass and trees, and see what we needed to come up with to make that, to get this done correctly, but to do it in September is the plan.
Anybody else? No, we'll move on. Next up is council committee reports. Planning and zoning, let's see, they met on the 10th of August. And Bailey, you're up.
We had a COA for the Marathon gas station signage. It was not for any building improvements. It was only for the sign, so the canopy and the electronic sign. And then we moved on to the zoning ordinances, right? The draft zoning code.
Okay. Any questions for Bailey? Thank you. Safety and service met on the 3rd of August. Minutes are attached. They'll next meet on September 7th. I think we covered this the last time, so we don't need to go through that. Finance met this evening. Ben, I know there are a couple items you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, so we did, we pretty much got through the agenda, which is amazing, very efficient. But some highlights here that we'll call out, and Chief, if you don't already, maybe you can call out about the trauma kits and the AEDs in your report. I can't remember if they're in there or not, but I can let you talk about the AEDs and the trauma kits. Quick update on the fireworks planning for next year with a couple budget changes, but the events committee will continue that discussion. We talked about the Hartford water line and the meeting coming up in Village Chambers here on Thursday at 5:30 with those parties that are included in that. So we had some quick discussion on that, some items to talk through with the rest of council just to get some feedback or any other considerations. Impact fee discussion was talked about. Jim had sent out an email about Pataskala specifically and what they had done and incorporated with their impact fee program. So finance voted 3-0 to move forward with an RFP to generate some interest from a whomever would put that study together to identify some an impact fee methodology that we can utilize in future developments and things of that nature. So wanted to answer any questions or anything like that from the rest of council, because we did at the finance committee tell them they can go ahead and move forward with that. And it is a longer process. So I didn't know if the rest of council had any comments on that or wanted to provide staff with any further direction, or if you wanted another informal vote, or if you're comfortable with where we're at with that.
If those holding the purse strings are good with it, I'm good with it.
That's fair.
We're fine.
Okay. Well, hearing nothing on that, moving on to explore Licking County. I can touch on this, Chip, if I need to fill in, if you need to fill in any blanks, go for it. But we're part of Explore Licking County, and what the finance committee had decided, it was okay to move forward with about $3,000 in total to have a full page ad taken out in the Explore Licking County magazine coming up, and looking to have Explore Licking County design it, but do an ad to support them, to support the village and everything that we have going on here, promote tourism and things of that nature. But it would be, because it supports tourism, it would come out of the ARP funds that we have coming to us here. So any questions or comments or concerns from the rest of council on that item? That'll come forward in an ordinance when we look to start pulling money out of that ARP fund.
Do we approve what they do before it gets?
I would imagine there's a proofing process. Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, Jim said he's proficient in Microsoft Paint and he'd be able to put something together.
Like, oh, look, the kindergartners did it. How do I get that proof approved? I mean, I don't want that. Am I just supposed to say okay, or
look at
who's
it.
gonna bless it? Do I send it to all 7 of you?
Or if it's going through finance originally,
We'll circulate
let
it.
me, guys.
So you could probably, I would think you probably send it out, garner individual feedback, and then if it aligns with a meeting that we have within a 2-week period of time, if we have feedback, we can give it. You can probably take direction. That's my opinion. I don't know if anybody else- Okay.
And the staff down there does really great work, and that's why I feel comfortable letting them do it.
Lift station quotes, and then the generator for the administrative building, we have folks that are looking into that right now, but no quotes to update as of yet. In Telenetics, we have a quote for updating, for archiving the zoning files that we have, large format and things of that nature. It would be a one-time fee and then maybe some small stuff as things go on that Jack may have, but mainly for planning and zoning with large blueprints and what have you. Finance voted 3-0 to move forward with that. It is a roughly $20,000 cost. But we do have the money to be able to provision that through general fund. And it continues to go along with our soft archiving process, with all village documents. So I'll put that out there since finance voted on if there's any concerns or comments. The rest, okay. Software solutions discussion, we're moving to a budget item for 2022. The police department portable radio consideration, chief brought us a quote. And just to cut to the chase, it's a $12,000 discount on what would normally be needed to provision that equipment for the police department, for equipment that has a somewhat relative end life associated with it with respect to encryption and how it will be supported go forward. It will fit within the definition of being funded through the ARP funding as well. And because the quote is only good until the end of the month and we don't have another finance meeting until September, finance moved 3-0 to move forward with that. Again, with the blessing of the balance of council, to make sure that we can lock that in and chief can go back and give a verbal on that quote going forward. So I didn't know, chief, if you wanted to give any other details on that or if anybody had any questions specifically for chief.
Any questions? No,
By
just,
all means, go ahead.
and just quick synopsis on it. Again, it's just till the end of the month. Originally, I'd put in for the new radios as part of the ARP funds because I knew they're coming up. However, when I knew that we were limited on our funds, I tabled it. This was back in March. The dealer reached back out to me and said that their promotion that's running, it's $12,000 savings and asked if I'd like to take another look at it, which time I did. And I brought up to Mr. Leonard. He said that he agreed with it and should be put in front of finance with the saving. The radios will eventually time out like any other technology does. The state of Ohio will require that all police band radios have an encryption on them. Currently, the radios do not have an encryption at all. I heard that this is going to happen in 2023 from the county EMA. However, I've also heard reports that it could be as late as 2025. REM has come out with basically like a patch for like the older radios that we have. They weren't able to give me an answer if our radios would even be eligible, but they'd had to basically break the radios open, install new logic boards, new chips, and reprogram the radios and put them back into the service. And he did say that that might be roughly the cost of the purchase of the new radios with the discount. So I do feel that it would be a great time to actually, with ARP funds, move forward on this. And it is a very limited window. In addition to this, as you know, I got new in-car systems. And if we got new portable systems, it would basically make the in-car and portable systems on the same upgrade rate as we move forward in the future.
So with that, again, finance decided to move forward on it. It's $36,000 investment, I believe.
36,375 and 13 cents.
Yep, and coming from the ARP tranche that we got in the first round. So wanted to put it to council too, if there's any comments or questions or concerns with moving forward with that provision. So I think we're good there. I think you can probably take that back.
Okay.
The verbal.
Well, thank you, council.
The only other thing that we touched on here is local government distribution, which is the fund that Jim has been working with Dana to try and get adjusted, which is our allocation from the county. There are some updates there. Jim, I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to touch on with that because it does affect total budget.
Just the overview that we discussed. Yeah, so, don't have it up, but right now, the local government fund is outdated and, sorry, I was just gonna bring it up. Anyway,
We don't get our.
so it's based on a formula that actually no one really knows what it is, including the county budget commission. But I shouldn't say it, they know what it is. They don't know how it was derived. So they don't know what went into it. So Dana and I went down there and asked for the change based on finance committee's recommendation. So as a reminder, there's 3 voting parties: the city of Newark, the county commissioners, and the balance of everybody else of at least 51%. So anything that would be a detriment to the city of Newark would be a no vote, and it has to be 3-0 or it doesn't pass. So Mike Smith, the county auditor, has pitched a proposal to the county commissioners to get more money in the pockets of the local governments and by doing so would reduce the county's allocation of local government funds. So basically, the county would give up a portion of fundings and then it would be distributed on a population basis to the balance of the county. So it's not perfect, but it does end up getting money in our pocket on behalf of the county commissioners. I mean, they're giving up funding. So we got a long way to go, but at least the budget commission has recognized our request in, I wouldn't say earnest, but they've recognized it and they're working towards a possible solution.
So good news, because it's been something we've been after for a little while. So to have that recognized at the county is good. So we won't drop that ball. We'll continue that conversation. I don't think there's anything else from finance. I think that was it.
Okay, moving on. Economic Development met on August 5th. And
Okay, at that meeting, on August the 5th, we got to meet the Grow Licking County new director, Alexis Fitzsimmons. And it was one of those type of meetings where, since she was new, we spent the bulk of our meeting just reviewing everything that's going on in Johnstown and the projects that we're working on. So that's really pretty much all there was to the meeting. Our next meeting, that it was scheduled for this coming Thursday. No. Not for a while. Not for a while.
September 2nd.
it's being moved.
Thanks. It's being moved, yes.
To the 17th? What was that? It's the third Thursday.
Thursday.
Because
So it's the 16th of September. It'll be, yes. You can, yes.
Yeah, we're moving it.
Mhm. Just for this month only, Teresa.
Any questions for Cheryl? Okay, moving on. Park and Rec, we actually moved the meeting, right?
we have moved the meeting to the 9th.
It's Thursday,
Yes, it's this week.
this week. Okay,
And,
go ahead.
okay, so last Thursday, Jim and I met along with Dale Dixon and Alan Benton. We met with the 4 new joint rec district applicants that we approved. And they set up to meet right now. They still need to get their 5th person, but they're going to meet on August 25, which is a Wednesday. And that's what they're going to try to go with, the last Wednesday of the month. And I think it was 6 o'clock they wanted to meet at that time. So they have a lot on their plate to get up and going because they're starting from nothing. But they seemed pretty energetic group.
That's great. Okay,
I got something to add to Carol's.
all right, Marvin, you're on.
I called Carol Saturday morning. I was over by the trailhead
Oh, yes.
and I was absolutely blown away. I drove through and there was 29 cars in the parking lot. So I'm gonna eat crow about paving a parking lot. in the dog, well, I already eat crow over the dog park. But as I was leaving, there was two more vehicles coming up Jersey Street headed for the trailhead. I know they're not Johnstown people, but it thrills me to see it used. So
Haley, when's the last time we pulled counts? Have we done it since we installed it?
I was gonna do it this week, but it was rain.
It's been raining. You don't go out. in the
Oh,
rain.
I will be doing it.
You physically have to go to those,
Yes.
those.
Is it USB?
Wow.
I just take my laptop and download it.
Maybe by Thursday at our meeting.
I'm gonna try.
Okay. Well, hold against you.
It was pouring when I got into work today, so that's why I didn't
Yeah.
go over.
And just as an addition comment, and I know most of you can, but can you imagine once that's paved and that road is fixed with the sidewalks and the dog park and the grass is in? I mean, it's a vision, but we're getting there. We're taking a chunk out of it. Can you imagine how many people are going to visit that site? And once Carol gets that mastodon back in the mastodon walk, I'm telling you, it's gonna be a place to visit when when that visual is back there. I know that's just in the future and that's a dream, but people will come to see that in that setting. That's a perfect setting. So
And go back 10 years where that property was. It's not only looking great now. I mean, it was scary.
I still want to have a flyer or something that says before and after, because I don't think people would believe what a wreck it was.
but piece by piece and year by year, this group that and I thank you guys sit up there, and I have to thank Carol for getting me excited about parks, because it was never one of my big issues, but I see what they want and I see the people are gravitating towards it, and it's not near what it's going to be in the next 3 or 4 years.
think what it's gonna be when we get the splash on the splash pool put in there.
That's Jack's little baby.
That's Jack's baby, from listening to parents of what they take their kids to go see. And if that's what we're going to try to do, I mean, it's a dream, but it's also a lot of people leave this town to take their kids to the different splash parks. If we want to keep them in town and then get the little deli down there that Bailey wants to get put up, it's going to be the place to come be. I truly believe that. And I think it's growing every day as we make each improvement.
I think that's gonna be one of the smaller parks in Licking County, but I think it'll be one of the most used.
Speaking about that park, the sidewalk to the
Shelter.
shelter house. I think we're waiting on Holbrook for a yes or a no, and
We had to abandon Mr. Holbrook. We have went to the second bidder, which was not that much more, Rogers Concrete. Mr. Holbrook had a number of things come up, and I talked with him and he just was unable to get to it. Staff and labor was with a lot of things is a problem. So we have shifted gears, and in talking with Mike Guttridge, this month, I believe Rogers is supposed to be in there, who has done some other work for us. They did the work up on the corner of 62 and 37. They did a nice job up there. So I told him to go to the second set of bidders and get that work done.
Okay. Perfect.
Along with the bike, where we're going to put the parking for the bikes and stuff up on the square parking.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions on Park and Rec? Moving on, Tree Commission met on the 27th of July. Anything you want to report, Bailey, on that?
Planning Arbor Day plantings.
Okay, trees are good. And the arborist is supposed to be doing Main Street. What's the date for that?
August 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Okay. That's
And
great.
there's a tree preservation ordinance, which I believe is on the agenda for tonight. Which came from Tree Commission and went through planning and zoning as well.
Okay. That events committee, you sort of did a report already, didn't you?
I think last meeting I talked about what we were going to talk about, and we talked about what we said we were going to talk about.
Great.
That's pretty much it. I think the next meeting we have is in October.
Next up is director reports and Chief Europe.
Right, so July 2021. One big thing that stood out to me is that there was a significant increase in service calls last month. I don't know if it's a holiday that caused it, but a 30% increase over June. And we did about 200 hours more in service calls than any other month this year. And if you really think about it, if you were working just 40 hours a week, it would take you 5 weeks to get through that amount of increase in service calls an hour. So it's a pretty substantial increase in service calls. It's nice to see that the mean average of a service call is 37 minutes, and we're still holding fast to that almost month after month. It tells me that the officers are taking they're spending the same amount of time as they would on a domestic, as a traffic stop, and so on and so forth. So they're very consistent as far as that goes. I'm going to look past the actual calls for servicers 205, which also coincides with the increase. There was 32 reports that were taken in July in 2001, roughly 1 hour and 20 minutes of that, including investigative follow-up was spent on each report, making the time that officers spent doing reports about 42 hours. The allocated time that an officer spends doing tasks within the community is also roughly the same too. It's very consistent as far as the numbers. Almost 20 minutes were in patrol. There was a drop in sick time as nobody called in sick. So those minutes show 0 on that. Traffic stops, there was an increase in traffic stops. Nothing that I see that's concerning. They're pretty much consistent with what's commuting in and through and out of the community. Training is something I wanted to spend just a little bit of time on. It was really neat to have other departments in our training. So this is the first time really ever since I've been director of the police department that we invited others to kind of come in and spend time of training. So Teresa had the opportunity to join us, and Mike Guttridge also had the ability to come and join us. And it was a really good time to interact with other people from other departments, and they kind of in a way got to see what the police do, and then they also got the benefit of doing the training. So as you can see in the photos there, Mike did an outstanding job getting the dummy life, and these were really complex dummies. Teresa could contest to it that you really had to work on it.
Say they're complex dummies.
They were. I know.
My wife uses similar.
It's an
language.
oxymoron. That's exactly what you're thinking. But their forehead lit up bright red when you were doing it correctly. So you're sitting there going, you're humming "Staying Alive" while you're working on this dummy, trying to get its forehead to light up. And you had to hit the right amount of depth. You couldn't go too far, too shallow. And it was all about the rebound. So it was tough. And then something also I thought that was funny about this is I got the 2 guys that don't have any babies at all trying to work on babies. And you can see how confused that they look in that moment. But they were able to learn how to give CPR to babies. A group picture, and then Officer Fox getting Heimlich from a sergeant. And they even had hands that were like physically spewing blood, and we had to get tourniquets around in order to stop the bleeding. So this was all put on free by Hazmat Ohio and Todd McKinney. And he also provided the training for free, the certificates, and all the material free of charge, as well as he gave free items like this IFAC, and I'm going to walk it up. This is what the service department recently put in their cars, and then he donated that to all the police cruisers, as well as that decon spray that Mr. Lee has there, which would basically neutralize carfentanil, fentanyl, coronavirus, the AIDS disease, and you just spray it. So if somebody comes exposed to something, you just spray it on them. There's 3 canisters in there. One's pressurized, and then there's 2 mixtures. And what ends up happening is it passes through the nozzle. Both of the mixtures collide together, and then it becomes active and very, very effective, and also safe to decon spray.
They're gonna run in a hole and rot.
I hope not.
Right?
I hope not. But yeah, you just and the nice thing is too is you can put it in the car and keep it on all sorts of different temperatures, and it's not going to be a danger. Decontamination spray.
Not the rat guy.
My kids.
Different stuff. It's funny how people's minds go different. Like I'm thinking about like decontamination and
Well, decon's what we've always used to. Decon and take a beer bottle and grind it up and put it in it.
right, so training, Officer Paisley is a he's a shotgun firearm instructor. So now the police department has 3 pistol instructors, 2 rifle carbine instructors, 1 shotgun instructor. My goal is to add another patrol rifle instructor, another shotgun instructor, a select fire instructor, which would be for the fully like the submachine guns, and then 1 instructor for revolvers. We don't have any of those 2. In addition to Officer Paisley doing that training and the CPR, AED, and first aid training, officers did a 1-hour block in sexual harassment training, which we're also going to supplement this month as well. And then we also, every staff member in the police department completed the Ohio ethics training as proposed by councilman. So total, we received 5 hours of training. Moving on to staff. Officer Rodriguez was featured in social media in outstanding. He does an outstanding job. One thing I'll tell you about Officer Rodriguez is he takes money out of his own pocket and he'll have like Freezy Pop Day. So what he does is he brings a cooler from home. He loads it full of Freezy Pops. And when he sees kids, he stops out, has a pair of scissors, snaps the top of it and gives it off to kids. And then he also has glow sticks. So I have like another day he does glow sticks and he'll snap the glow sticks, get them activated and give them to kids.
Must not know where my office is.
He does not. And when I talked to him about this, I said, what's your goal with this? You know, because you're doing a pretty amazing thing. What's your goal? And he says, and I quote here, I want kids to trust and run to patrol cars. If I take these actions now, youth will trust us tomorrow. And I can personally tell you that when I'm on patrol, kids run up to my car. Now they're disappointed because I don't got anything for them. But nonetheless, I've seen it with my own eyes that they run up to the car. And what a fantastic thing that he's doing. In addition to that, he's teaching that to the new officer too. So he's learning those community relations things. Sergeant Hatfield was accepted to, and this is a whole mouthful here. He was accepted to the Ohio State University John Glenn College of Public Affairs Public Safety Leadership Academy. He'll be attending the 9th class. It's a very prestigious leadership academy. It will cost the village $0. It is all paid for by casino money. We will just lose Sergeant Hatfield for about 11 weeks, but he will come back a completely different person. He'll go to DC. He'll look at Antietam. He'll go to the Holocaust Museum. And it's just a tremendous, tremendous leadership academy. He's going to come back very trained and with different eyes, can look at things differently. He'll be, once he graduates, he'll be the 2nd person in the department to be graduating a PLSA. Social media, it fluctuates up and down. So I could be a little bit more active with it, but then I'm also, out there running calls too. And with that busy call, I ran 95 calls last month myself. So it's a busy time. Fuel cost, it's the highest fuel cost I've had since I've started here. So it was $1,500. A little bit more fuel was used than typical, and then the prices are just high. So I'm going to continue to monitor that as I go into the next cycle for next year. Other news, we are now certified. We're a certified law enforcement agency through the Ohio Collaborative Community Police Advisory Board, and you can see us right there if you're able to. All the Lincoln County agencies. So we stand with Denison, Granville, Hebron, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office in Newark. So I'm proud to say that we are now among that list, and I will continue to work through my groups to become the gold standard for the collaborative. We added a community relations board to the lobby, so you can kind of get at a glance. We get a lot of people to bring in posters and letters and stuff like that, and it's a great way that officers can walk by and look at that appreciation. So I added that board so they could look at it. I personally wanted to thank council for approving the new badges because my badge broke, and now I'm wearing this badge right here that was one of the replacement badges that we had ordered in order to get this one fixed. So if it wasn't for this approval, I would be trying to figure out what I'm going to do to wear a badge. That badge, I'm very attached to it. It was made in 1998. So I've sent it back to the manufacturer where they're going to fix it, return it to near finish, and then return it back to me because it's a piece of the department's history that I want to hold on to. And then we also now have a dog scan. So with the dog park, the police department wants to get a little bit more active with canines in the community. So we've got access to run dog tags now. And in addition to that, we have this kit where we can run chips and look at the chips on the dog to try to reunite these lost dogs with their owners. And that way we could get a more speedy recovery. It wasn't listed on here, but I also wanted to bring this up as well. I mean, it might have, the number might have came up after us, but I do I do want to basically brag that and it's a fantastic thing, but out of all the service calls that I've looked at this year with CAD, our average response time as a police department is 3 minutes and 57 seconds. That is absolutely outstanding. I'm willing to bet that's probably better than almost all Central Ohio police organizations out there. It's just absolutely outstanding that a Johnstown resident on average can have an officer at their door under 4 minutes.
Very reassuring.
Questions for chief?
And
Done?
real quick, great idea on the dog scanner for the chips. I didn't even think about that. It's a fantastic idea, especially with the dog park coming in.
And Chief, can you kind of explain why that quick response is helpful to you as a department with kenneling and being responsible for that dog?
So in the past, what we've done is if there's been a stray dog, we get the stray dog, we house the stray dog, and we literally keep the dog in the back of our cruiser. We contact the dog warden. They get out here. It takes them 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, depending on what time it is. Then they take the dog, they'll insert the information, run the scan on it, and then they'll reattempt. Meanwhile, we've got a resident that's just looking for their dog in most cases, and they're probably going insane trying to find their little family member. So if I can shorten that time up, and then not only that, we are the ones who are reuniting, not the county. We as the police department are reuniting. Then I think that builds a relationship with our community, and they get these lost family members back to them faster.
So is that Paula Evans that they call?
No, she's more of the humane agent. So if it was an abused dog or
Yes,
it's the dog warden for the county.
and if it's a dangerous dog, we're not going to mess with the dangerous vicious dog either.
Thank you very much, chief. Anybody else?
I also want to say congratulations on the collaborative community certification.
Thank you. I'm very happy about it.
So I think that's something you mentioned almost from day one that you wanted to continue to work for, and to have it at this point, I think is a huge achievement. So
Thank you.
thank you for getting the department there. And I just wanted to, real quick, unless I missed it, if you want to talk real quick about the AEDs and things like that.
Yes, thank you for reminding. And I know that Mr. Lee talked about the AEDs. Hazmat Ohio, the same company that put on the training for the first aid, has graciously donated or will be donating 12 AEDs to Johnstown. That roughly comes at a savings of a little under $22,000. And we'll have enough AEDs to put one in the police department lobby, one in the admin lobby, one for the service department, one for water, one for sewer, and then one for every patrol car. So I can't thank them enough, and what a great thing.
Huge,
Great.
huge.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
I don't know how we're doing fine. It was sent to all of us. I'm sure you've read it. It's good news. It's nice to get good news. It's nice to have money. And be able visibly be able to see that those funds and that both the withholding year to date for July. I mean, that was amazing to watch these numbers. And
Net profit. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
we're in good shape.
We are in good shape.
And I guess that's enough said.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Unless you got
Sorry.
questions, you want?
Thank you.
I don't understand the dead tree at the cemetery. What's that?
Oh, we had to pay, the tree fell down, so we paid DEG
Oh,
tree service to take the tree down.
We had a
Oh,
tree
Bigelow Park.
blew on
I mean
somebody's
Bigelow
roof.
Cemetery. Yes. Okay, got it.
And then Oliver,
I went up and checked on.
is it down?
Yeah, Oliver's on the ground.
Yeah, Oliver Bigelow's tombstone blew over or fell down or whatever. And
Timing.
Adamson is working on the new one. And I don't know how far along he is, but
I think the wind just took that one down, Chip, because when I looked at it, it come off the base and the rod was holding it up was all rusted. But the tombstone's laying there and it's not completely apart, but I was gonna see if Adam could go up and pick it up without destroying it anymore.
right. And the new tombstone will have all of the ornate neatness of the existing one. He's
Very good.
matching
And
that.
will still say proprietor.
It'll be
proprietor.
just exactly the same. And then the language we added, I think we said from the grateful citizens of the
City.
city of Johnstown presented this, whatever the date. So
That'll go on the bottom of the front of the stone right under.
right under the,
Well, it lasted since 1817, so that's
So,
pretty
that's pretty good.
amazing.
Good track record.
But anyhow, and then we had the tree blow down on somebody's roof over there. And that's what we got Dig over there to clean it up. And take it down.
I'm assuming, Jack, there's gonna be fence expense too, right? Or did it not hit? the
Did it not
fence?
hit the fence?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have a little
So we'll
bit,
have to fix the fence.
we'll recoup it out of insurance.
Okay. Okay.
Chip, if I, just to call out, just so somebody's, look-
Sure.
you just had the agenda up there, Jim. In case anybody's looking, page 34,
Wait,
a little
what?
bit,
3 of 4?
34. Well, I think you're on it right there. The American Rescue Plan list
Oh, of
that was there.
course.
It does say on there that note that these may change based on finance committee discussion outcomes. Those items will change based off of finance committee discussion outcomes. So that is not set in stone.
Placeholder.
That will adjust, that will change, pending further discussion by staff and directors.
Are you saying it's in this packet?
Under finance director
The
report.
finance director's report. It's her number 34.
Okay.
So we didn't update that specifically in the finance committee report, but if you're reading it, that is not a list that is set in stone.
Okay. So we're gonna move to legislation. If nobody has any other further questions. The wage and salary structures will remain on the table because we're not ready yet, but soon it's coming. And we can deal with the employee handbook tonight. So if we can have a motion to take it off the table,
I move we take it off the table.
And I second.
moved and seconded. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Sure. Ben Lee,
Yes.
Gerald Robertson,
Yes.
Air Dutcher,
Yes.
Cheryl Van Dees.
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Okay, so it has come off the table. And now can consider the handbook.
The hand,
Employee handbook, it went, we had a meeting of, well, you, Carol, you share that.
So we met on Monday, Marvin, Chip and I, and we also had the chief and the
Deputy chief.
Deputy chief.
and Teresa. And we now have passed the employee handbook should be adopted by this group of people. We looked it over, had questions or not. And so please vote on it so we can move on.
So,
I got something to say first.
okay, go ahead.
Before we vote. I didn't intensively go through the whole document, but what I did go through, both the chief and the employees handbook was looking more or less to the future when we become a city. There was a lot of things in that handbook and the chiefs to try to satisfy employees so they wouldn't be trying to organize and picket us and stuff like that. Hopefully it'll work. Don't know if it will or not when we become a city, but this was to address some of those things that we thought would they thought would come about. So we were all in agreement that we thought both of them was pretty good documents. So
So somebody could make a motion.
Carol, you move it.
I make that motion.
I'll second. Chip, you get
Moved
to
and
vote.
seconded. Any further discussion?
Public comment.
Okay. Public comment. I didn't know I had to have a public hearing for a resolution. We'll open it up to the public. Hearing no comments from the public, we will close public comment. And we already have a motion on the floor, so if there are no further questions, we'll,
Make one more comment and I'll shut up.
sure, Marvin.
I just want to thank all the people that worked on both these documents and all the time you spent on it. It's appreciated. Thank you.
Okay,
Second Marvin's comment.
I think we all feel the same way. Now, Teresa, would you like to call the roll?
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Marvin and Marvin.
Carol and Marvin.
Carol didn't hear Marvin. Okay. Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Carol Van Dies,
Yes.
Doug Lanner,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
and Lee.
Yes.
Employee handbook resolution is adopted. Next up is resolution 2021, which is also on the table, which is the police agreement manual, department agreement manual. And it's already been, it's on the table, so I need a motion to take it off the table.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Teresa,
Mayor Dutcher,
yes?
Carol Van Dies,
Yes.
Doug Lanner,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
and Lee.
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have taken it from the table. We need to have a public hearing, so we will open it to the public. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. And we'll entertain a motion to, I guess we have to approve the police department agreement manual. We'll make the motion and then we'll have discussion.
You make it, Chip, and I'll second.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
Carol will second. it.
Okay.
I'll talk about it.
And Marvin's gonna talk about it. Marvin, you're up.
There again, thanks to the chief, he's pretty progressive in getting some of the things in here that we think will help the village or the city in the future with negotiations and things. Started here. I think there's a lot of things in there to keep employees happy. So, and thank you for the time that you spent on it.
Mr. Block, you're very welcome. I spent 27.6 hours on it and 196 revisions.
Very detailed, aren't you?
That's just my statistics.
Or not accurate, one or the other.
Just looking at my statistics from the document, there was a lot of time and love that went into it.
Well, a couple of
Okay,
questions
so-
I asked you there. I seen you turning red and sweating a little bit, so I asked
So
some
any-
pretty good questions.
Any further discussion?
I just appreciate the initiative and getting this on the table. It's a document that's from the bottom up. It's not something that the village has had before. And so it's a foundational document for the police department. I think it's a great addition, and it's going to be great moving forward. So
Will
again,
serve as well.
yeah, I appreciate everybody's hard work and due diligence.
And if there's no further discussion, Teresa, you can call the roll.
Carol Van Dies,
Yes.
Doug Lanner,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes, and the police department agreement manual is approved.
Thank you, council.
You're welcome.
Thank you, chief.
And thank you, chief, for all your work on this. Next up is ordinance 32-2021, ordinance amending chapter 1195 of the Village of Johnstown Codified Ordinances. And this one is the garbage ordinance, rubbish ordinance. I don't know what we want to call it.
Garbage ordinance.
It was
Junk.
introduced on the 3rd. Tonight, we're gonna have a public hearing and a vote. So open up things. I will entertain a motion to approve it.
Mayor, I believe we're gonna table this one. We're still doing some work on it.
Yes, Chief and I would like to request that you table this while we still do some investigations and research and just make sure that it's all backed up.
We worked on it.
It's been requested that we table the motion. Is there a motion to table this ordinance?
I'll move the table ordinance 32-2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we table this ordinance. Teresa, we call the roll.
Doug Lanner,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Carol Robertson.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes,
Carol Van Dyke.
Yes.
it's tabled. Sure, we'll see it again. Next up is ordinance 33-2021, ordinance amending chapters 1133, 1137, 1181 of the Village of Johnstown codified ordinances. And this is the tree?
No, this
No.
this is requiring yard signs be
Oh, yes, the
placed.
yard signs.
Yes. So
Instead
it's
of
requiring-
publishing them in the newspaper. You like this
Yes.
one. It was introduced on the 3rd. We're gonna have a public hearing and a vote this evening. So first I would entertain a motion and then we'll move to the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 33-2021.
It's been moved. Is there
I'll
a second?
second.
Cheryl has seconded. So we're gonna have a public hearing and I will open the public hearing. I will close the public hearing. Discussion.
I don't know what this is.
Well,
Just explain. Signs instead of newspaper? Yeah.
instead of newspaper, you have to come to the village and get a sign.
So this sign will now be placed in the front yard of the property in which.
Oh,
will be
okay, I
displayed.
remember that now. Okay. I
Okay,
remember-
that's
I
what it is.
recognize- Thank you.
And we're having signs made so it won't be like kindergarten lettering going on out.
Wait a minute, does it say in here that they'll get the signs from the village? It just says yard signs, yard sale or signs. It doesn't say that they'll be uniform. It just says 2 by 3.
What we can do is add the,
Yeah, I need to add wording to it.
we
that
can do an
says
editorial change on that,
Be picked up at the village offices.
and then we'll charge the fee for the sign as well.
Is that in here?
It's not in here right now.
I'm not voting for it till it gets in there. Huh?
You can make it a condition.
Okay.
So what we need to do is have an amended motion and a second to ensure that the editorial change states that the village offices will be the site of picking up the signs and that the applicant will be charged the fee for the production of.
Move an amendment to the ordinance 33-2021. That we add in there that the signs will be rented from the village and returned to
Purchased.
the village.
Purchased from the village.
If you have a decent sign, it can be used over instead of those yard sale signs. Look at what they use in New Albany. We want to look nice in Johnstown, or we want to have those red and white signs like the politicians put up.
No, we want good signs.
I think so too. I can't see any reason why they're going to pay for them. Why they shouldn't be. Not the ones I've seen.
What's their material?
Huh?
What's their material?
The ones I've seen over there, they're a wooden sign.
No, would it?
Huh?
No. Mm-hmm.
Right.
As long as they're, as long as they're printed signs.
Yeah, this is all printed. This came from digital impressions. It's all,
Their weather.
Yep.
but yeah, it's gonna handle.
It'll look
a
nice.
Few events, but we'll have to get new ones eventually. It's
Yeah.
not-
So at least we all are in agreement of what kind of signs we want.
You'll have to have. it'll be printed,
Yeah. Okay.
you can reuse it.
A sign that was, well, I'll change that to a sign that's purchased or from the village.
But the fee charged to the applicant.
So
You get that motion?
we need to,
I'll withdraw my previous motion. You withdraw your previous
Yes.
motion.
As amended.
So then Marvin made a motion with the amendment wording. And I will second.
They have to-
Teresa know what,
They have to get the sign from the village, purchase from the village, a pre-printed sign.
okay, so it's been. Yeah. Yeah, it's your turn.
Marvin Block,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Stanley,
Yes.
Carol Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Van Dees, Doug Lehner.
Yes.
Okay, so we have amended this. Now we have to have a public hearing.
I thought we just passed it as amended.
We just passed it as amended.
Oh, we did the whole, we didn't do the separate amendment, vote on the amendment. It was the as
The
amended.
motion was as amended.
Fine,
Okay.
we're fine. Okay, so ordinance 33-2021 is approved.
And I didn't hear any.
Hallelujah. Okay. Next up. Is ordinance 35-2021, ordinance amending chapter 1187 of the Village of Johnstown Codified Ordinances. And this one is the Design Review Board.
Yes, so it also requires signs, and so I'd request that you make the same condition on this ordinance as you made on the last ordinance. But in addition, it what does it do? In addition, it clarifies the meeting requirements for the board, and it takes away the requirement that they must live in the Village of Johnstown and leaves it up to the discretion of council.
Okay,
Sorry, I had a brain fart
so I guess we need an amendment to the ordinance.
requiring that the signs be purchased from the village offices.
Right.
I so moved the amendment to the ordinance 35-2021.
Okay,
Signs to be purchased from the village.
okay. So it's been moved. We need a second.
Second.
Carol has seconded. Now, we need to have a public hearing. So we're gonna open the public hearing. Actually, we should probably vote on the, no, we're gonna vote it at one
As
time.
amended.
Same thing.
Okay, so we're gonna do a public hearing. Open the public. Hearing. We're gonna close the public hearing. Now, we can move to vote on this as amended. Any discussion, further discussion? Hearing none, Teresa, call the roll, please.
Yes.
Carol Robertson.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Carol Van Dees.
Yes.
Doug Lehner.
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Yay, it's approved. Next up is ordinance 36-2021, ordinance amending ordinance 34-20, annual appropriation ordinance of the Village of Johnstown to approve necessary changes of appropriations. Jim, are you gonna talk on this?
Yeah, it's pretty easily spelled out. We're increasing our revenues by 150,000 from the income tax. And then we're making a few appropriations for the Bigelow, Oliver Bigelow headstone, the tree trimming along Main Street, and then personnel costs for our additional labor for the street department. Revenue being booked for the ARP funds, as well as transfers for 30% of that realized income tax for capital improvements, and also turning around and appropriating those appropriations for appropriating the revenue for pavement of the trailhead parking lot.
Great. So anyhow. this
All
was-
good things.
All good things previously introduced. We need to have a public hearing and a vote. So first off, I will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance.
So move.
Ben has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Cheryl has seconded. Sorry about that. And we will have a public hearing. So no public comments are heard, so we will close the public hearing. And are there any questions from council? Hearing none. Reese, you want to call the roll?
Cheryl Robertson.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Carol Van Dees.
Yes.
Doug Lehner.
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 36-2021 is approved. Next up, resolution 2021-33, an emergency resolution to accept the material terms of the One Ohio subdivision settlement pursuant to the One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding, consistent with the terms of the July 21, 2021 National Opioid Settlement Agreement. That was a mouthful. Anyhow, this is tonight. We're gonna do introduce it. We're gonna have a public hearing and vote. It has to be, this is to disperse, I think, the funds from the opioid settlement so that we get our share
Accept the terms, I think.
and accept the terms as laid out by the Attorney General in his settlement agreement with the parties which are listed there in the first paragraph. Any questions? If not, we'll introduce the resolution. We've introduced the resolution. We'll have a public hearing and a vote. So I need a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Okay, I will open the public hearing. I will close the public. Any questions?
I'll just make one caveat. This 18,000 is gonna trickle in over 20 years, so don't go
Don't get
spending it all
excited.
in one place.
Don't get too excited. Anyhow, it's still a good thing.
So our 18,000 really has become 12,000 with inflation.
Funny, all these
Yeah.
things that keep going from one amount to another.
That's all
Anyhow,
I had.
Teresa would call a roll.
Sure. Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Carol Van Dees,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson.
Okay.
Yes.
Next up is ordinance 34-2021. An ordinance amending chapter 1183 of the Village of Johnstown Codified Ordinances. And this is just being introduced tonight. No further actions required. This is the tree ordinance. So
Save the trees.
save a tree. We're big believers in trees. And we will see this again in 2 weeks. Any questions, comments?
I think it needs some modifications.
Well, we have time to do that in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. Next up. These get thicker and thicker. Okay, we're getting to the end. Okay, ordinance 37-2021, ordinance designating a revitalization district within the Village of Johnstown in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 4301.81. This is to create the revitalization district, which, as you all remember, I wrote you a letter about. And because the Ohio Revised Code demanded I do that, so anyhow, tonight is just the introduction of the ordinance. This creates the revitalization district, which will give us additional liquor permits, 5 additional liquor permits, which hopefully our restaurant community will make use of and our businesses community will make use of, and will benefit all the citizens of the village.
Good news, 3:30 today, I had a conversation with someone who plans on utilizing one of those once it's approved. So
That's good because as of today, we do not have enough permits to apply for a DORA.
What?
So
I don't have enough permits to apply for a DORA.
How many do you need?
We need 4,
4 D5s.
either D3 or D5.
We only have 3, don't we?
When you have,
So-
but
I'll fill you in on what I know.
the plan is that these two, at least 2, once we have these, that would be fine.
Right. So the DORA most likely will be in place next year.
Have to wait for take.
That's fine.
those permits.
Anyhow, tonight's just introduction. We'll see it again on the 7th of September. We can all go have a drink. Anyhow, that concludes the legislative agenda.
Few items.
Then the soon-to-be city manager has something to discuss with us.
So our census is 5182. I thought was severely low, but it is what it is.
And it's a year behind too.
True. With that comes changes. The health department has already reached out to us to become an official voting member of the combined health district. So I have the contract. Mayor Dutcher has the responsibility of appointing a representative to that board. So think about that, as well as Licking County Transit. We then get a position on that board as well, which Mayor Dutcher then gets to approve. So it doesn't have to be one of you all, but someone from the community. So think about those two.
Think about who you all would like to recommend those two.
So those are the items I have.
That's it.
Well, there's plenty more. If anyone asks you, we have to wait for Frank LaRose to give us the proclamation certifying the numbers. That will automatically then start a 30-day countdown in which we will be a city. So we just wait for him to give us that information.
Have we thought any more about getting a different sign out here?
Yes, we've thought about it. Laura,
Have we?
have we done anything?
Yeah.
I asked Laura. Laura did a lot of the sign work between these two and Teresa. So I asked Laura to take a look at it. I don't believe she's done anything with it, but yeah, we'll be getting a new one.
Could you send us an email, those two positions,
Absolutely.
so that kind of get it in my head that we need to be thinking. So.
Oh, and we also have to abide by stormwater SWP, stormwater management program. So I would recommend we join the county-wide program. A couple years ago, you adopted 3 ordinances that set the stage for that. It basically just says now that we have to be willful participants in the program, participate in River Roundup, have them come out and do the education for us, the Soil and Water Conservation District. So I'll throw that one in there as well.
Do they all have to be residents?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that? It could be a village official.
I'll see why not.
Stormwater, I think that's gonna be a pretty tricky thing to understand, and I think I'd nominate Jack Liggett for it. Well, I mean, you want somebody on there that's got knowledge. Go down there and listen to it and have a glass of tea or something, come home, wouldn't know what the hell it's talking about.
I'll get the summary of what it requires and everything like that. Get that back to you guys.
Jack, make sure you're
Be
qualified.
determined. Anybody else?
Yes, I have something.
Yes, Jack.
Thursday, we will be opening bids for the paving on Edwards Road and North Orking. So, and the associated roads with North Oregon. So we should have some numbers to see if we can get that done. At the pre-bid, we did have 3 contractors. We had a pre-bid meeting. We had 3 contractors available at that meeting. So hoping all 3 will bid on these projects.
Friday, we get our technology vendor responses as well for the $250,000 project.
Great.
Jim,
I would,
Jim Blake.
oh, Jim.
Yes, I just had some information. I shared a little bit with Jim earlier today about building lots within the village.
Yep.
Just for your information, 32 months ago, we had between 335 and 350 lots, which we talked about that time. They were either ready or in process of development. Now that Miranda is out of lots, and just to let you know where we're at, Pulte, when their final street is completed, which they're getting pretty close to setting curb on, I was over there today, they'll have a total of 93 lots left. Buena Vista area, Raccoon Estates has 6 left. For Linda Chambers today. I heard that too also, but I went to her and she said, no, there's 6 lots left. Basically Schlebach has 14. So right now,
Does that include the neo-traditional street?
that doesn't include the neos. There'll be 9 of those left. So my point is, if we had another good year, right now we've permitted 74 houses so far this year. Last year, our total for the whole year was 80. Pulte sales tanked, but they're coming back up. In June and July, they dropped. They have a lot of theories why, but they weren't too concerned about it. They thought COVID had something to do with it. People were getting out of jail, COVID jail, and they were out doing other things and they weren't looking to buy or build a house. But so my point is, at the rate we're going now, we won't have any available lots or maybe a handful in about 18 to 19 months. Now, based on collected this year, water and sewer permits, we put over $1 million in the enterprise fund. Last year, I think we put 1.4 or 1.3 in. So my point is, we want to expand the water treatment plant, which is going to happen in the sewer treatment plant, and we have the new tank. I wouldn't count too much on enterprise funds unless another developer comes in and it gets approved.
We aren't planning, I don't think we were planning to use enterprise funds for, well, our plans, as I understand it, didn't include using those enterprise funds. We had money set aside for those
Well,
engineering and for the,
engineering in phase 1.
Phase
those
one.
Plans are taken care of. Now, your real costs are when construction.
Yeah.
Starts, and that's gonna probably be between 15 and 18 million dollars. Build both those plants. So funding, although that sounded like a tremendous amount of money in the enterprise fund, to build those plants is
it's real money.
it's real. So yes, we'll have to figure out whether we're gonna bond, where we're gonna borrow, where that money's gonna come from. But that's after phase 1, which will give us a real good guidance on what the
cost.
Jim, I know we had the discussion, but I don't think the other council members know about Pulte. They've come in and paid some of their money and you released the permits for them.
Yeah, they paid the amount for the upgrade to the lift station of one something. Yes, we have that. And then we have received the plans last Thursday or Friday, I forget when, for the turn lane, the final plans. So those will be going over to Pulte this week. I'll send those over.
Turn lane, red light.
Oh, yeah, for the
Bigelow.
to start designing the signal and the requirements that brings with it.
How long is that gonna take? Think they design and stuff.
It can't be too complex.
Reason I'm saying, if they just got,
2-3 months. I
they,
mean,
they just got 90 lots to build in there and that traffic light was supposed to have been taken care of a long time ago.
we'll be discussing a performance bond and other security measures. Absolutely. That's on my list this week.
Any, I have one thing, the American Legion on Saturday at 2:00 is dedicating additional, bricks in their memorial wall. And they always like to have people, I'm gonna make some remarks, mainly similar to what I made at the Memorial Day event. I thought I could use that again. It'll probably be a different audience. But anyhow, be that as it may. And then we got Summerfest. Since Sharon isn't here, I'll put a plug in for Summerfest. I think that starts at 6 to 10.
10.
And Music was good at the last one. Food trucks were good. Wine was good. I think the beer was good. I don't know. I didn't have any. And it was, there were good comments about the last one. So I hope people will take part in that. And that's basically all I have.
Make sure you RSVP if you can make it Monday to Tech's groundbreaking. I know some can't, but if you can, it'd be great.
I'll go. Anybody else? Any comments for the good of society?
I moved to adjourn.
Yeah.
Okay,
Second.
been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those
Aye.
opposed. Ayes have it. We are adjourned.